I've shown in another video how to make square and a square units the traditional way. I'm going to show in this video how to use the square squared ruler by Studio 180. This particular ruler will do finished size square and a square units from 1 inches finished all the way up to 6 inches finished. There is another set that is expanded that will go all the way up to 12, but it is only in whole sizes. So you have to be sure your square and a square unit is finishing at a whole number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 with this ruler, on up to 12 with the other one. So on this ruler, it has the markings here, and these markings are for the center of our square and a square unit, so the square in the middle. And the reason this is so important is because most of the time the center square for a square and a square unit is going to be an odd measurement. They usually end in a 1/16 of an inch or something like that. So to have it accurate and have your corners come out in the right spots, starting with your accurate center is important. So these have all been figured out exactly how big you need it to be for your center square. Also on the ruler is a chart that tells you how big of squares to cut and then cut in half on the diagonal for those finished sizes. So today I'm going to be making a 2-inch finished square and a square unit. So my background pieces, or my triangle pieces, I need to start with a 2 1/4 inch square, and these are slightly oversized, and then I will cut that in half once on the diagonal. Because I'm making a 2-inch finished, I'm going to be using this marking for my center square. Now if I was just making one, I would just go cut that square out of the fabric. I'm going to be making several, so what I'm doing is lining up that square with the edge of my fabric, and then I'm putting another ruler up next to it, and I will run that ruler all the way down to make sure I'm keeping the same width and adjust until I have it accurate. And that looks pretty good, so I'm going to take this one away and not use it for the moment, and I'm going to cut that strip off. Because I'm cutting a lot of these, I have a folded strip here. I have cleaned off one end, so everything is squared up here. So now I'm going to take that marking that's for the 2-inch finished square and a square unit. I will line it up on 2 of my cut edges and cut off. And there's my center for my square and a square unit. I'm going to just keep cutting my whole strip. So remember, my chart says for 2-inch finished square and a square units, I need to cut 2 1/4 inch squares, and I have to cut 2 of them for each square and a square unit. So I've already cut a 2 1/4 inch strip, and we're just using a regular ruler for this. Sorry, you're seeing my mess instead of that. Okay, so I like to cut in increments of the 2 1/4 when I'm cutting more than one, so that's what I'm doing. Here I have it folded in half, but I'm cutting 4, and because the fabric's doubled, it will be 8. So 2 1/4 times 4 is 9 inches. Then I back it off 2 1/4. That's 6 3/4. And when I'm doing this, I'm lining up a long edge with my long edge, and I'm lining up my measurement with the edge that I had cut down here. My next one is 4 1/2. And then 2 1/4. And I need 2 of these cut in half on the diagonal for each square and a square unit. So this is 2 of them stacked up here. So I will just cut it once from point to point. And now I'm ready to make a square and a square unit. I happen to be doing more. If you were only doing one, you would only need 2 squares. So the way this goes is I'm going to put triangles on all 4 sides of my center square. So I will start with 2 opposite sides first. When I'm sewing this, my accurate measurement is my square. My triangles are oversized. So when I'm sewing, I'm going to be sewing with the square on top so that I make sure I'm getting my 1/4 of an inch right from that edge. I didn't say earlier, but I'm just visually centering my triangles on my square. Triangles are oversized, so It's, as long as it looks centered, you should be fine. So I've sewn on the two opposite sides and I pressed away from the center. And now I'm ready to add the last two triangles. Again, I'm just visually centering, and I will once again be sewing with the square on top because it's my accurate cut. I've added my other two triangles and again pressed away from the center. And now I'm ready to trim these down because they are oversized. And we haven't really talked about this end of the ruler yet. It is marked with the cut sizes along the solid lines of our square and a square unit, and then it also has marks with these little crosshairs for what size our finished block is. So I'm going to be working with the 2-inch finish, so down here. And the way this works is I'm going to line up those 2-inch crosshairs with my 2-inch marked crosshairs with my corners of my inside square. And if I was accurate with my sewing and my cutting, it should be pretty much dead on. If it's not exactly perfect, then just get it centered inside those marks. So we do have the marks going all the way around. And I will cut two sides. And then I need to rotate either the ruler or the square. And now when I go to put it on, my crosshairs still should be matching up, but I have this solid line, the 2.5 mark, that's my cut size. So that's going to go on the two sides that I just cut. And then I'm going to trim off the remaining two sides. And there's my square and square unit with a nice 1/4 inch seam at my points ready to be sewn into whatever block I'm making.